I recently had my lipid panel done, my hemoglobin A1C, my blood sugar, my fasting glucose, and I was shocked to see that I lowered my total cholesterol by 58 points in 11 weeks and my LDL cholesterol by 41 points in 11 weeks. I did not take a statin. I did this very naturally, and I want to explain how, because millions and millions of people are on statins. And if you're one of those people who you go to your doctor and they say, okay, I'll give you 2 or 3 months to lower your cholesterol, or you're going on a statin, like this will definitely help you. So I'm airing it as a Facebook Live. And I'm also going to air this on my podcast called Optimal Metabolism. So if you'd rather listen that way, that will be out next week. But so I've talked about the Feel Great system over the last couple of months, and just a little background on my particular lipid panel. I have always had borderline high cholesterol, or what's considered borderline high cholesterol, despite my really healthy lifestyle. Like, I do all the foundational things. I eat well. I've always eaten clean. I go to bed early. I do the circadian foundational work. I've just been a clean eater my entire life. And I remember the first time I got my lipid panel check, or my cholesterol checked, was when I was 16 years old. 16 or 17 years old in high school. I was in a health class, and they sent us to the doctor, to get our cholesterol panel done, because we needed to see what ours was for this class. And mine came back at, I think it was around 220. And like I said, I was 16 or 17 years old. I was in basketball at the time, playing basketball for my high school, very, very active. And I got my panel back, and my teacher's like, were you fasting? I'm like, yes, I was fasting. She's like, well, maybe there's some kind of glitch. Like, let's send you back. So they sent me back again, and same thing. It was like right around 220. And I don't remember. I think I've had my cholesterol under 200 a couple of times. Now, full disclosure, I'm not worried about a cholesterol of 220, because I look more at the breakdown, and I will explain more about that. I definitely look more at the breakdown. I look more at triglycerides than anything else on that lipid panel, because that really, if you have elevated triglycerides, that's really a strong indication of your metabolic health not being optimal. But anyway, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, my dad has high cholesterol. His whole family is high cholesterol. And of course, in high school, I knew nothing about my lipid panel or the breakdown. I just knew, oh my goodness, like, I'm a teenager and my cholesterol's like 220, and I'm really active. And every single time I've gotten my panel done since then, I think, like I said, I think it was under 200 maybe once in my entire existence. And again, didn't really worry about it, because I had, a higher HDL. But my LDL a couple of times was like over 140, over 150. And of course, the medical field like freaks out at that. So I was like, okay, I'm watching it. But the last couple of years since I've gone lower carb, and I really eat, I take in very little sugar. I don't eat many carbohydrates. I'm probably under 100 grams of carbohydrates most days, so it's kind of a liberal, low carb approach. But I've been doing this for years, and I eat a lot of meats and eggs and cheese, vegetables, like real food, dairy. I eat a lot of that. And in the last couple of years, my cholesterol did jump up quite a bit. Like, I'm in perimenopause, I'll be 50 in a couple of months, but it jumped enough to kind of alarm me. So I haven't gone to a regular doctor in the conventional system for like 9 years. I'll be doing that in the next couple of weeks. But I've had my lipid panel done several times. Last summer of 2024, my total cholesterol was 291, I believe. So it had jumped a good 60 points. My LDL was like 195. So that was a little bit alarming to me, even though I know the breakdown is more important. My HDL was higher. I don't know, it was like 70 or 80. But again, I was a little taken aback because I hadn't really changed anything. I was still really active, still eating the same way. So anyway, fast forward to a couple weeks ago, did my lipid panel again, my fasting glucose, my fasting insulin, all of the metabolic markers that I like people to get. My HSCRP is an inflammatory marker. Everything came back really, really good. And my cholesterol had gone down from 291 to 233. I think that's what it was. I know it was a 58-point decrease, and my LDL went down 41 points. And my triglycerides were very low at 48. So I like triglycerides less than 100 is kind of where I look at them for an overall marker. But the conventional system will say under 150 for triglycerides, and I like them under 100. But anyway, the only thing I did was add Feel Great, which is the two-step system that, like, if you're interested, there's a link there. But it's a two-step system that helps with cholesterol reduction naturally because it's got one part of it is a fiber matrix, like soluble fiber matrix. And you've probably heard that fiber is helpful for reducing cholesterol, right? Like you see the claims on Cheerio boxes, you see the claims on oatmeal, like this product can help reduce cholesterol because of the fiber in it. And so what Feel Great has done is taken, a fiber matrix, the best part of the fiber, and packaged it so that you can get that fiber naturally every single day using the Feel Great system. And so I've just seen amazing things happen when people are using Feel Great, especially if they have high cholesterol, because what happens is that fiber system, there's 7 different fibers in there, but it binds to extra bile in and this is kind of getting sciencey, but it binds to extra bile in your body. And shuttles it out. And with that bile comes cholesterol, in particular LDL cholesterol, because we don't want, so statins will lower cholesterol, yes, but it's not necessarily the type of cholesterol that you want to lower. So I knew going to my, this conventional doctor that she was going to say something like, oh, Shana, like your cholesterol is 291, like that's alarming. And so I wanted to give the Feel Great system a try. I really didn't think it would help all that much, but in 11 weeks, my cholesterol was down 58 points. So I wanted to do this live and just bring it to your attention. If you know somebody who, their doctor said you have 60 days to bring your cholesterol down or else, like statins have a lot of side effects. I think that they're overused, and I even question, the lab guidelines. Like, I don't think it's alarming to have a cholesterol of 220. I'm not a cardiologist by any means, but I think we just go way too overboard with statin use, and we need to look more so at the breakdown. So like I was saying, when I am working with somebody metabolically, I hone in on that triglyceride number because triglycerides are very telling of metabolic health. And if you have nice low triglycerides are basically fats in the bloodstream. Like you don't want a lot of extra fat in your bloodstream, right? Like that makes it more viscous and thick. You want it to flow very nicely. So high triglycerides are the real problem, and Feel Great helps to not only reduce LDL cholesterol, but it helps to reduce triglycerides as well. And so that is the marker that I hone in on. And the other thing that people think cause high triglycerides is fat. Like people think if I eat too much fat, fat causes too much fat in the bloodstream. And that does to a certain extent, but it's more so extra sugar, extra carbohydrates, processed foods that aren't utilized. Your body can only pack away so much energy as carbohydrates. And once that is full, it's got, a threshold of carbohydrate storage. Once that's full, your body will convert those extra carbohydrates to fat, and it can store unlimited fat, right? Like we know that, like we just keep getting more fat on our bodies, even if we're not eating fat. So the real problem is eating too many processed carbohydrates, eating too much sugar. Your body gets too loaded with carbohydrates, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I do with these carbohydrates? The body converts it to fat, stuffs it all over the place, stuffs it in your muscles, stuffs it in your organs. That's how we get fatty liver. That's how we get fat around our waistlines and fat around our organs. It's because of too much sugar and too many processed carbohydrates. I'm kind of simplifying, sugary drinks, that sort of thing. And so that's why I hone in on the triglycerides more so than the overall cholesterol, because that is really the problem. It makes our blood really viscous and thick. And so if I see a triglyceride number of 250, 300, 400, even if the cholesterol's normal, I'm like, we have some work to do metabolically, for sure. So I've always been really happy. Like I said, my triglycerides are really low, but I was kind of like, okay, I'm in perimenopause. Why did my cholesterol jump 60 points? Like, that's a little bit alarming. So I was really happy that this did reduce my cholesterol by a lot. And so I have this doctor appointment coming up. But really the reason why our cholesterol, like our triglycerides go high because of what I just explained, but we also, like most insulin resistance, is due to too many triglycerides, too many blood sugar spikes. And so all of this comes back more so to insulin resistance and you know, just taking in too many carbohydrates overall, and eating too often, and insulin resistance growing. And so you can kind of see how we've been led down this path of insulin resistance and high cholesterol, high triglycerides, high blood sugar, because we've been told to eat really often. We've been told to, you know, eat as soon as we get up in the morning and have lots of snacks to keep our energy up. And this causes insulin resistance. We shouldn't be eating more than a couple of times a day. We shouldn't be sipping on sugary drinks in between meals. And so that is the real problem. And, you know, we've also been told to eat a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of whole grains. And I'm not saying you can't ever eat these foods, but those two things together, the eating constantly, snacking, eating to keep your energy up, eating too many grains and carbohydrates, even fruit can be problematic if you eat it in really high amounts. And then an indoor lifestyle, like all those things have compiled. Being inside all the time, being under fluorescent lights and artificial lighting. I know it sounds really crazy, but that can actually have an effect on your blood sugar. And this is very, very well studied. So if you have to work at a computer all day, you're in a building with fluorescent lights all day, that can contribute to blood sugar issues as well. And so that's, again, where Feel Great is really great, because there's two steps to it. And the first step is called Unimate or yerba mate tea, that helps to increase your GLP-1 hormone, which is really important, right? Like we've heard, everybody's on GLP-1 agonist medications right now, whether it's Ozempic or Wegovy or Zepbound, tirzepatide, semaglutide, lots. And there's more in the pipeline. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place for these things, but I think the long-term plan for these is not great. Like, what happens when you have to go off of these? What happens if your insurance quits paying? Like, what do you do? And maybe you've lost 30, 40 pounds, which is fantastic. And I know a lot of people who've done really well on these, but what do you do once you come off? Like, you don't want to gain the weight back. So the yerba mate part of the system helps to lower or increase GLP-1 naturally, give you more of an energy. It helps you because it increases that GLP-1 activity. It helps you with fasting. Like, I have so many people I've worked with who want to be good intermittent fasters, but just can't implement it because they have insulin resistance and sugar cravings and they're hungry all the time. And it's just really tough. And so the yerba mate does help with appetite suppression. So intermittent fasting can be a little bit easier. But today we're mainly focusing on the cholesterol part of it. And that's where the balance really, really comes in, because it has multi-fiber, that helps to take the bile out of the system, which attaches cholesterol to it. It also helps to slow carbohydrate absorption and improve satiety, so that you can lower the cholesterol levels naturally. So there's also what are called phytosterols. Sorry, I'm getting all these texts in. It's like coming on my screen. So the phytosterols that are in the balance also help to support healthy cholesterol and lower the LDL cholesterol component of it. And it's just such an easy system because the Unimate you sip all day in your drink, and then the balance part of it, I should have actually stirred some up here for you to see, but it's like a gel. And so when you stir it in water, and if you've taken Metamucil or if you've done any kind of an experimenting with the soluble fiber, like Metamucil will thicken water. And sometimes people ask me about Metamucil. They're like, well, can't I just take Metamucil? And that is a soluble fiber. But it's only one type of soluble fiber from psyllium husk, so it's kind of a cheap soluble fiber. And the Feel Great, the fiber matrix, the balance, it's called balance, that's the second part of the system, has 7 types of fiber in there. And so you put in your water, you have to drink it immediately because it gels really quickly. So you kind of like stir it with a drink mixer, and then you drink it right before the balance is meant to take before your biggest meal right away. And it helps, like that really thick mixture coats the stomach, so brings your appetite down. But that soluble fiber also grabs onto the bile salts and the cholesterol and gets them out of your system naturally without, statins kind of are designed to do that, but in a unnatural way. So it's a really amazing product, and I wouldn't have believed it. Like, I wish I would, as a metabolic health professional, I wish I would have known about this system a really long time ago. I could have helped a lot of people from going on statins and going on metformin. It's really great for blood because it's good to help lower blood sugar. And now we have the GLP-1, which again, I'm not saying those aren't ever helpful. They definitely are, and they can be. It's just like having a long-term plan to come off of them. The Feel Great system can be very, very helpful because of all of the benefits. The other thing in the Unimate that is helpful with, if you were looking to get off your GLP-1 medication or avoid that, because they can be really costly and they do have side effects for a lot of people, is the chlorogenic acid that is in there. And that helps with insulin sensitivity and lipid balance as well. So it's kind of like a double whammy where you have the yerba mate concentrate. There's 3 whole grams of yerba mate in the Unimate. And then it also helps with mitochondrial function overall. And then there's what's called theobromine in it. And that is where that product also helps with the HDL, LDL, because you don't want your HDL lowering, right? I hesitate to say good versus bad cholesterol. Like, I don't like saying this one's good, this one's bad, because they just shuttle different fats and they shuttle them in different directions. But typically it's better to lower having too much LDL is more problematic than having too much HDL. So the theobromine helps with that as well. And I just have been blown away. Like I said, I didn't expect it. Like, I do all the things. Like, I'm a very healthy person. And for my cholesterol to go down 58 points, I was like, really crazy. The other thing, if you're looking for something to replace your statin or cholesterol medication, lipid lowering medication, or, you're trying to avoid one, maybe your doctor is like pressuring you to start one. The really nice thing about the Feel Great system, which is the Unimate plus the balance, it's a 2-step system that I have been taking, and that's what's helped lower my cholesterol so much, is that it's found in the PDR, which is the physician's sorry, it's now the provider's digital reference. It used to be called the physician's desk reference. So the PDR is a huge database of medications, and there's nutraceutical supplements that have been studied in the PDR as well. And so if you go to your doctor and they say, I've never heard of this, I don't know what you're talking about. There are over 200 studies on Unicity products. Unicity is the maker of the Feel Great system. And your provider, your MP, PA, medical doctor, whatever, can type in Unicity Feel Great system, and boom, all these studies come up and they can see that it's legit. And it will say right in the PDR, this system can be taken in place of a statin for cholesterol reduction. Nobody knows about it because there's not money to be made from a pharmaceutical company, but it is right there in the PDR. I love that that is an aspect. I'm super picky about what I recommend to people. I've been a dietitian for 25 years in this space. I have never ever recommended a supplement system before Feel Great. And reason being, I knew there was 200 studies behind it. I knew that it was in the PDR, so I could feel comfortable telling my clients that I work with, because I can't do anything with prescriptions as a registered dietitian. That's beyond my realm. I can't help you get on meds. I can't help you get off meds. I can make recommendations, but I can't, I have nothing to do with recommendations or with prescriptions, I mean. So when I saw that it was in the PDR and your provider can look it up and see all the studies, and it says right there, you can use this and replace, to replace statin use, and the outcomes are better because there's no symptoms or side effects, and you get all of these other benefits from blood sugar regulation and more energy and better focus. I mean, I have people coming off medications left and right doing the Feel Great system, also helping people lose weight because it's working at insulin resistance. And the yerba mate tea, you may have read, it has fat burning potential, and it definitely helps with fat burning as well. So that was kind of what sold me. And I'm so glad that I myself tried this. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. And tested my labs, and I was just blown away. So I know a couple of questions that I get really often. So I kind of explained how the system works, and a lot of people ask, well, do I have to follow like a certain diet with this? Do I, how does meal timing work? It is suggested with Feel Great that you do about 16 hours of intermittent fasting because it is working so well on metabolic health. And if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, fat around the middle, those are all telltale signs that this would be really helpful for you. But if you, I lost my train of thought here. But the system is just 2 steps and really simple to use. You can work it in every day. Oh, the meal timing part of it and fasting. It is suggested to do 16 hours of fasting-ish. Somewhere in there, there's a really awesome app that you can use when you're using this system. I love it. You can track your Unimate, you can track your balance, you can track your meals. But I have a lot of people who are like, I don't intermittent fast. Like 16 hours of intermittent fasting sounds really hard to me. And I get it. Like that, when I first started intermittent fasting, I was like, 12 hours was a stretch. So I understand, like, even if you start with 12 hours or 14 hours, the system is going to help you extend your fasting time because of that yerba mate, because of the increase in the GLP-1 hormone. It's going to be super beneficial for you. And all of a sudden, 16 hours of fasting doesn't sound like a big deal at all. For me, I don't like fasting all morning. It threw off my cortisol balance. And I found that, for for me, it was too much on my body. I'm an early morning person. I do my workouts in the morning. I'm always hungry in the morning. And so I switched to eating breakfast and a late lunch. And then I fast usually like 3 p.m.-ish till the next morning. I know it's kind of an old lady schedule, but it works for me. And I found, since I've been using Feel Great, way easier to fast through dinner. Like, I don't even feel like I'm intermittent fasting anymore. When I was fasting through breakfast every single day, I felt like I was intermittent fasting. Like, I was counting down the hours and the minutes, and I felt like it was, like that was more challenging for me. And this method, even a couple months ago, like, I've been doing this method for quite a while now. I'd say coming up on a year that I've been, eating breakfast again, a nice substantial breakfast, a big lunch, and then I fast late afternoon until morning, and I go to bed pretty early, like usually 9:30 or so, asleep by 10. But I've found that it doesn't even feel like intermittent fasting, and it's really, really easy. I know before this, like a couple months ago, it was always this major decision for me. Like, am I going to eat dinner tonight? Am I not? Am I going to eat dinner? Am I not? And I know socially, and if you have a family, this doesn't always work. It can be a little more challenging to do that, because I know, like, especially if you have little kids or your husband's coming home from work, like, you want to sit down and have dinner with them. Totally get that. So you do what works for you. But right now, like, 2 of my kids are out of the house. My youngest is a senior in high school. He's in volleyball. He practices 5:30 to 7:30 every night. So he's not here for dinner. So I can get away with that a little bit more, but I don't have that big I don't even know if it was food noise, but I don't have that big decision to make anymore, because I'm just not hungry in the evening anymore. So as I've nourished myself appropriately throughout the day, and then I've been sipping on the Unimate, that helps to keep that GLP-1 a little bit higher, and so you don't have the cravings. And I've just found, like, it's been weeks since I was like, oh, should I eat dinner or should I not? And so that's been a really nice benefit as well. So a couple of questions that I get pretty regularly. Can I do Feel Great with my current medications? Like, maybe you're on a statin right now. Maybe you're on a GLP-1 medication right now. You absolutely can take Feel Great. There are no contraindications to any medications. And again, you can have your provider look this up in the PDR, the provider's digital reference. You will see that there's no contraindications. About the only thing that comes up for people is there is caffeine in the Unimate. Some people who are caffeine sensitive have to be careful about how late into the day that they're drinking it. But other than that, and then with the balance, because there is a really good load of soluble fiber and that fiber matrix in there, some people get a little bit of bloating when they start the balance. I did myself, because my gut was kind of a mess. And if you don't have, you're not used to a lot of fermented foods, or you're not used to a high amount of fiber, you need to kind of work those microorganisms up in your gut. And, over a week or two, that starts to diminish. Within 3 or 4 weeks, I had no bloating. So what I suggest to people who start Feel Great, if they're seeing bloating, go down to half a pack for a week or two, and just let those microorganisms start to increase. And, within a couple of weeks, people are almost always fine with it. So there's nothing health-wise that contraindicates. It's just some people are more sensitive to caffeine, and I hear there is a caffeine-free version in the pipeline, which I'm excited about. I like to have the caffeine in the morning, but if I had my choice, my second Unimate would be caffeine-free. And then sometimes people get a little bit of bloating from that balance, but it works itself out as long as you're consistent with it. And there are no contraindications to any medications. So that, and then Some people ask, well, should I just quit my medications when I start to feel great? I'm like, oh, you need to talk to your provider. Like I said, I am not giving you medical advice. I can give you nutrition therapy advice, but as far as medications goes, I wouldn't suggest just cold turkey stopping your medications. Like, you need to talk to your provider. I do know of people who are off insulin within a week, who are off their GLP-1 medication within a week or two. But my suggestion, have your conversation with your doctor. GLP-1 medication, especially, wean off slowly, and then you need to be on board with your provider. If you are on insulin, definitely you need to be more careful and make sure you're not like just cutting things cold turkey. I've had people ask me about constipation. I talked about bloating. If you have like constipation or you have, diarrhea, if those are kind of normal for you, they're not normal, they're common, but they're not normal. The balance can be very, very helpful. And this episode or, this live isn't all about gut health, but I need to do one on gut health because the balance has been shown to really be very, very helpful for people who do suffer with constipation and irritable bowel syndrome and diarrhea, because that soluble fiber matrix, there's 7 different fibers in there. And I'll attach some like a really nice PDF that breaks down the different fibers and ingredients and why the company has chosen those particular fibers and ingredients in the system. They're all very, very strategic in what they do. And some of them are working on IBS. And as those good microorganisms start to flourish, people just find that their IBS resolves. I have a son with ulcerative colitis, so I am very well aware of how IBD and IBS and just digestive issues can get in the way of your life. Like I watched him suffer with that for years, and it's not fun at all. And by the way, I have seen that people with Crohn's and colitis have completely, like, their symptoms have gone away. I'm not saying this is the magic bullet for every single person, but there are, because of that fiber matrix and because all these different fibers are working on the microbiome and helping those good microorganisms to flourish, gut integrity just gets a whole lot better. So it does help with digestive health. I talked about being caffeine sensitive. The Unimate, so the system is 2 Unimates in one balance. 1 pack of Unimate is equivalent to about 1 cup of coffee or 8 ounces of coffee. So if you're not used to that amount of caffeine, throughout the day, it would be equivalent to about 2 cups of coffee. So it's not like this huge amount of caffeine, but some people are more sensitive. I'm very sensitive to caffeine, actually, and I found, like, I used to try to drink coffee. I hate coffee. I hate the flavor of it, but I used to try to like coffee. And I would drink 1 drink and I'd feel nauseous. My hands would be shaking. I'm very caffeine sensitive. If I were, drinking a Zevia here and there, I would make it a caffeine-free one because the caffeine, I didn't like it. But with the Unimate, I just feel alert and energized. You don't get those big peaks, like the big, oh, I got all this caffeine. It's just because you're sipping on it throughout the day, you just get this nice steady energy effect. So I haven't found the caffeine to be problematic. I sleep just fine. I fall asleep just fine. But if you are more caffeine sensitive, you can do just 1 packet, or just do both of your packets by like noon, and then you don't have to worry about it interfering with your sleep at night. And then another question, I kind of addressed this a little bit, but do I have to go like ketogenic, or do I have to follow a low carb approach? Can I still use these things even if, maybe I'm vegan or vegetarian, or I don't want to go low carb? Yes. I would say overall, I believe like a lower carb approach is beneficial, getting processed foods out, getting processed carbohydrates out. I actually strongly believe that a seasonal, local nutritional approach is the best way to go. I know that is difficult for a lot of people. It's kind of like, the top tier of nutrition, in my opinion, is being local, seasonal, eating what's in your environment, and then focusing more on meat, eggs, dairy, higher protein. But you don't have to be like ketogenic to do this, because like I said, it helps with blood sugar regulation. It helps the studies that have been done by Unicity plus other outside organizations have shown that it reduces carbohydrate blood sugar response by 43% if you take balanced before a meal, which is very high, and it increases GLP-1 by an average of 58%. So it's potent stuff. But yes, you don't have to follow an actual, this diet or this approach, or I have to be under 50 grams of carbohydrate. I don't count anything, honestly. I just eat real food that's protein centric. I eat twice a day. I front load most of my calories, meaning I eat them earlier in the day because your digestion is more active. You have more stomach acid. You have more enzymes earlier in the day. Once it's nightfall, dark outside, your body kind of gets these messages to start winding down digestion. Don't make as many enzymes. Don't make as much stomach acid. And so it gets harder to digest food, and it's harder. We grow less insulin sensitive at night. So that's a really good reason to stop your snacking at night and to stop eating before you go to bed. And I know I say those things lightly, like they're just easy peasy, but I understand they're not simple. But just keep it in mind. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share today. I'm just blown away again that I saw this huge, reduction in my cholesterol. So, I will say the price, my link is here. It's about $5 a day to do the Feel Great system. So that's like a fancy cup of coffee. You're not eating as often if you are on medications that are, costing you more than $5 a day. This is something that you can definitely give a try, get off some of your medications, and the system pays for itself. And I do recommend like the lifestyle foundational things, but this can be, especially if you're feeling stuck and you're just like, I do all the things that you do, Shana. Like I don't know what else to try. Like this can be something to try, give it a whirl, especially if you're on medications, metabolic medications, weight loss, statins, GLP-1 that you want to come off of. There is a money back guarantee. After 90 days, if you don't see the results that you want to see, there's an A1C guarantee, which is freaking amazing if you ask me, where if you use the product regularly, you don't see a decrease in your A1C by, following the system. You obviously have to follow the systems consistently and use the product consistently. But if you don't see a reduction in your A1C or hemoglobin A1C within 90 days, you get your money back. So pretty awesome. I mean, you have nothing to lose. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that this can be used in place of a statin cholesterol medication. So if you're on a statin or considering them, you can bring your last lipid panel to your next appointment. You can send your doctor information. Usually we have apps that we can message our providers in right now. You can send them my link and ask them and say, hey, I want to try the Feel Great system by Unicity, Unicity. I want to try the Feel Great system by Unicity. Can you look it up in your PDR, your provider's digital reference, and let me know what you think? I really want to come off my statin. Can I try this instead? And that is a really good first step for you in avoiding or getting off statin use. My link is right here. If you're not watching this live, you don't see the link, you can comment Feel Great to any of my posts or stories and you will get information sent to you. And obviously you can send me a direct message or a messenger message. I'm a little bit slower with messenger because they put your messages in really weird spots. So be patient if you haven't had a response from me in Messenger. That one's a little bit trickier, but I will get to you. We'll get to it eventually. Comment Feel Great. I will get you the information. One last thing is when you're on a Feel Great subscription, I do have monthly support group meetings. every single month. So you can come on and share your story, ask questions. If you have any questions with the actual products, you can come to those sessions and I'll get your questions answered, because my time's valuable, so I don't do a ton of support group work. So this is a really great way to meet with me monthly. So give it a try. Comment Feel Great. Check my link. And if you join, I will see you at the monthly meeting.